Check, check, check. Hello, everybody. It is I, your host with the most, the immaculate, ejaculate, customer services resident bad boy, Adam Pecora. Here we are. Another fortnight has begun. Requiem for a Tuesday, round 27. Look at that. We're keeping score, we're keeping count. Never forget. You know what I'm talking about. What's up, y'all? Been a lot going down. Um, Usual plugs. Follow me on IG at adam.rfat. Link in bio's got all the shit. And check out all that stuff. Rate, review, subscribe to the podcast. Numbers are going up, which is exciting. So I want to keep that going for sure. So, you know, let's keep up the good work. Ladies and germs. I don't know why that's ever a term. You know, you hear that in cartoons all the time, but it's like, is that real? You know what I mean? Like, where the hell did that come from? Nobody ever told me. Um, a fun update to start the program. So on the previous episode, I went a little in depth, told a little bit about, or a lot about the whole thing, really, the whole pie of my cosmic struggles with the government. With my horribly timed, ill-conceived situation where, anyway, not getting any unemployment benefits, and finally got the phone call, 2+ weeks after the bird shit incident. We had to refresh, start anew, back of the line, end of the queue, working on a Broadway musical. You like that? Finally came through. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh my, this is great. And, a lot of pushback. They're like, how do I get you off the phone as quickly as possible? And then, just like really easy answers lead to like them actually trying to do some digging and some investigating of some sort to maybe try, to actually provide some semblance of service using my S. um, and eventually it's like, okay, none of my lame by the book excuses to hang up the phone seem to be working here. So I'm going to transfer you, or at least so I'm told. So I don't know whether or not I'm going to go full on that this is a conspiracy against me personally, or if it's really hard to work these phones, or I don't know what the deal is. But I'm going to transfer you to this department. Okay. And then the phone hangs up. It acts like you just called and got to the end of the voicemail thing. And then that's it. It's just over. Like your entire wait time goes away. And now I'm back at the queue again. And it's like, what? You just get transferred and it just hangs up. So it's like, you either had no intention of doing that and that's just a way to cop out and hang up the phone, which is like insanity. Either way, it's insanity. It's just like there's no fairness to that. And that happened so many times when people used to answer the phone when you called it. Before I had to wait on them to call me. Like I'm some kind of back alley call girl. You think you can just come around whenever you're ready? What about what I want? You know what I mean? Like, this has to be about me too, right? If we're going to have any kind of relationship here. Anyway. So that's some bullshit. So the saga continues. So they say. We'll see where that leads. And I noticed something that slipped through the cracks over all this time that I kept forgetting to write down because I'm like, oh, of course I'll remember it. Now it's like a month past being news, which, In present day, it might as well have happened in 1986 because who even remembers a month ago? I don't. I don't even know what day it is now. It might, you know what I mean? There's no pieces of normal linearness going, if you will, if you must. A tartar. And my point is, when I'm saying these ramblings, is the Washington football team. I mean, come on. I almost did a Dice impression right there. I mean, come on. How is that guy that famous for that? I really don't get it. And then he said, "Oh, give him $10 million." Anyway, I just mean like what a giant fucking joke, and like what a just dick slap move. Like just the sheer fuck you of the whole thing. Because look, I get it. It's like your little baby. You don't want to change it. Enough people have been mad for long enough. It's like, dude, just fucking do it. It's like, come on. Why does it matter? You guys suck anyway. Right? And it like doesn't change that you guys were like good in the 80s or whatever the problem is that I don't understand. But it's also just like the fact that that you could easily call it football club and just be Washington FC, just like all the major, soccer teams, or like, just this is how like sports teams are named in Europe and shit. And it's just like, you could have done that, and it's not like there's a conflict because I looked it up to make sure that the Washington MLS team is called DC United. So it's just like what just come on. It's like like you want to stomp your little feet that bad that you're gonna like embarrass the entire organization and all the players and just like not give a fuck, and just have like a clown ass stupid name just because like you're salty about it, because just do FC. And then it's clean and it's not a bit. Unless they just wanted a really like viral headline, but is it worth like a season of having a stupid ass name and all this shit and like pretending that you have to like rep that shit? Like it's just not fair. Like if you wanted to seem, I get it. They're saying fuck you, but it's just like it's dumb for the integrity. Like if Snyder actually wants this fucking team to actually do anything and be successful at any point, it's like who the fuck's gonna want to play there if you're gonna be this stupid and childish, especially with all the other toxic shit that's coming out with all the whole like from top to bottom. It's like stop, just grow up, dude. You know what I mean? Like it's not about you. All these few people just fail to understand. Like it's not about you. So just take a step back, and it's like if you ever think a thing is about you when it's not directly told so, think, hey, maybe I shouldn't step into that because that wasn't about me. Okay? I don't really know what I'm talking about, so take my advice, don't take my advice. Just come up with a better name for your football team, please. Because it's like, well, we have to call them that. You know what I mean? By like not making it a thing with an official abbreviation. It's just I'm gonna keep it going. It's just it's upsetting that like there's nothing else to call it now. And that's just annoying. It's like I just want to say FC, but I can't, and I'm not gonna say FT because that's not a thing, and it's very intentional, and that's very frustrating. It's just like really grating. It's just like we're gonna pivot into fuck you real quick. And fuck them. They're not good anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, so yeah. But hey, At least they're not going to be the slur team anymore. So, I mean, that's cool. You know, they lose in the long run. So, if he's going to stomp his little feet and cry, so be it, I guess. But, I mean, you could just man the fuck up. That would be more ideal. But not cave. See, I feel like here's my hot take about this whole thing. It's like you can pretty much come out and apologize, or you can double down and act like a tyrant little baby. This is actually somewhat of a nice in between. It's a big passive aggressive move that like makes for a year of comically ridiculous football for the city and all those people involved. But I think it's like just like the general divisive nature of everything currently, that it's like you almost don't want to. This is all just theoretical, but I feel like if I was in a scenario like that, it's like, would you really want to like issue an apology and just validate all these people like screaming at you? You know, it's difficult, you know, because it's like it's clearly correct, right? And it's like, I mean, I doubt that he knows that or thinks that, so I'm not trying to like play sympathy for the guy and claim that he's doing what's right because he thinks it's right. I don't think that at all. But hypothetically, like, even if you did come around on something, like you issue an apology and it's like all these people said all these terrible things about you. It's like, why do you want them to feel better about it and like make them seem right? Either way, they're still gonna like dislike you. You know what I mean? Like, there's no acceptance to the apology. You're basically just like, y'all were right, and then everybody's still just like, oh yeah, fuck you, bro. I bet you are sorry. And it's like, okay. It's a weird thing. I don't know. I just don't understand how all of this internet thing, like I guess just Twitter bases or wherever all this stuff comes from, is so influential that it can like just get people fired from all their jobs and all this shit. I mean, it's cool in a lot of instances, but a lot of them are also like, you know, pretty ridiculous. Like, okay, I saw this was an article headline. I didn't click on it because why would I click on it? You'll understand in a second, that I saw while scrolling through Google News. So while that's not like, you know, it's not like the Library of Congress, I understand, but I wasn't like scrolling through Facebook like and it was like trashy shit constantly around. You know, this was like sandwiched between like political news and like maybe like NBA. You know what I mean? It was all like real things around it that were like important and newsworthy. I don't remember the source. It was probably some dumbass source that like found its way in because clearly it caught enough buzz. But anyway, which is the problem. The article was basically, the headline said like, waiter at restaurant tells story of like a time Ellen was mean to them and they had to tell their manager. The gist of it. Obviously, it was a much snappier headline. I'll give the writer some credit. But it's like, how's that a story? You know what I mean? It's like, nobody should be mean to waiters and waitresses. I mean, very, 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 very seldomly they will, I guess, deserve it, you know? But that's just like, that person's a prick. It has nothing to do with their job. You know? So anyway, just don't harass people when they're at their job. Sure, always true. But at the same time, like, shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, that sucks, but like, people are fucking dicks to me, you know, all the time. Somebody gave me the finger for putting my mask on the other day. Or, you know, all these crazy fucking rich white folks coming into retail shops everywhere, fucking screaming at people all the time. You know what I mean? It's like, and like, yeah, I get it that like now currently that is being a thing where like they're finding those people and like shutting them down. But those people are like doing like horrible things to people. One, two, that's justice for like customer service. What has to be dealt with. So that's like a long time coming. Um, but anyway, the whole thing is just that, like, just because Ellen was mean to you doesn't mean that you get, like, special treatment. Because, like, a bunch of other customers could be mean to you and you don't get a news article written about you. It's like, just because it was her doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? She can be mean to a waiter if she wants. She's a person. You know what I mean? It's just like, that is just like such an unfair thing. Like, you wrote an article about it. Like, how is that news? Someone was mean to a waiter. Doesn't matter who it was. That's not news anywhere. Period. You know what I mean? It doesn't add anything to anything. It's like, yeah, that sucks. But you know what I mean? Like, every person's been mean to another person at some point. So it's like, you can draw the line on what's newsworthy definitely way further beyond just somebody being a little mean somewhere at some point. You know? That's just fucking crazy. But I also say that with just as much ignorance, because I didn't read the article, so I don't know what the fuck happened. But I assume that if it was crazier than that, they probably would have had a better headline. Which, if that's the case, then I'll take that credit right back away from that writer for having a shitty headline. Haha. So either way, I win somehow. Gotta love that. The advantages of sitting here and talking to myself is I can always win the arguments. It's good, you know. It's like, I totally understand where Bill Burr's always coming from. Speaking of which, not really. I mean, I guess, hey, in some relation to, you can connect the dots with. I had a realization the other day. And someone's probably made this point at some point, but I haven't heard it made, so I'm going to feel like I'm making a point. But I had the realization that Joe Rogan is Johnny Carson. And it's like, I get it. Like, now, that's just like the easiest way to put that into perspective, I feel like, for like an older person who are just trying to like understand what it is. Because I feel like there's always a conversation whenever people are having a conversation about late night television, is that like, it's not what it used to be and it doesn't mean what it used to mean. And I think that the reason why it doesn't mean what it used to mean to be on those shows is because it's not about the show. It's about the guy. You know what I mean? Like, there was like, oh, Carson was Carson. You know what I mean? Like, it's annoying, but like, you hear all those old heads say all that shit all the time. And you watch those shows and it makes sense. You know, that shit was pretty good. You know, I'm not going to lie. But like, try to tell me that David Letterman also wasn't the guy, right? Because it seems like that was still a big deal too. I feel like there was always like huge acts on there and people were like really, really promoting them, right? But it's like, who the fuck cares if you were on Fallon? You know what I mean? Like, I guess no disrespect. I mean, I don't really give a shit. It's just like, I don't understand how he's really gotten anywhere at any point. Although I do think Fever Pitch is a good movie. But that's neither here nor there right now. And like Corden, that guy, fuck that guy. That sucks. Who wants to be on that? I think that I wouldn't even go on that show. Possibly. But, you know, that's pretty bold. Because I think I'd accept an invitation just about anywhere. You know what I mean? But if I was in like a position where it's like I can pick and choose my things, you know what I mean? I definitely would not want to be on that show. And like, Kimmel's dope, but that's a different vibe. Like, that's not like a thing. Like, you're just a guest on that. That doesn't have like comedy spots, or like, I feel like the musical guest on there is always like already super established, so it's like not that crazy. Whereas like I felt like the act on Johnny Carson was like a thing, you know, and then you would like be part of it after, you know, whatever, you know, that whole mystique, whatever that thing was, where you like earn your spot on the show, and that's like a huge thing. It's just like everything else is just like, oh, we're just gonna book, you know, Kelly Clarkson. Does she still sing, or is she just like a daytime lady? Does she do both? I don't know. Whatever. But it's like, yeah, I don't. Who wants to be on that? So, but it's like getting on that show would be fucking sick. You know what I mean? Like fucking Post Malone's trying to get on that show, and he could walk on to any network thing he wants. He's the biggest fucking guy out there. You know what I mean? It's like you want to get on that. I want to get on that. You know what I mean? I'd be on that show fucking right now. Obviously, I guess. I think that that's obviously just true because of the platform in general, right? Um, but it's like that's the place you want to be. Like that's not just because of hype. Like that's the cool spot. That's where things happen too. You know what I mean? Like you would feel like you made it if you were there. Whereas I don't know. I wouldn't have any like special feeling, I feel like, going on a late night show. You know what I mean? Like who gives a fuck about Jay Leno? Not that he's doing it anymore, but you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be like, hell yeah. You know? I wouldn't be if I wouldn't be excited to like meet the person, I definitely wouldn't be excited to be on their show. I feel like, Fallon might be cool cuz I could like talk to the Roots. That'd be pretty sick. But you know what I mean? Like it's just not the same shit, and that's not what's cool anymore anyway. You know what I mean? We don't want that. It also like changed with the times. It's not about the format, and it's not about the specific name of the program or the time slot. And that's why there hasn't been an official like successor. That's why like Letterman was like the closest thing, and he's doing his thing, still crushing it. Indiana's finest. One of. I always call whenever Freddie Gibbs comes up, I just gotta say Gary's finest every time. You know, cause shout out to Gary. Not very far, but a million miles away at the exact same time. So, respect. Yeah. There's a new fucking king. Has been. I mean, it's been years. So, not a very fresh take, I assume. But maybe you haven't thought of it, so slam dunk yet again. Run it. But I mean, it's just like about time, Somebody's got to like fill these cultural roles that like didn't get filled. That's why like everybody got mad when the Strokes were like acting like assholes. Like, we thought you guys were going to be the Beatles. Or whatever they thought. I don't know why they thought those guys wouldn't act like rock stars. I don't understand that. I guess take me back to '01. Maybe it'll make sense, but probably not. So, but you know what I mean? Like, everybody's like so desperate. It's like, there's got to be a rock star. It's like, probably not. Because they probably won't be good. You know what I mean? It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work anymore. Times have changed. Old heads, listen to Joe Rogan. It's the future. You know what I mean? Because somebody said on there, I forgot which episode I watched, but the guy who was on there, he was like, yeah, the first time I was on, he was like a repeat guest. And he was like, I like booked a bunch of shit like right after and like got an apartment or something crazy. And it's just like, yeah, see, that's like a changer. Whereas, first of all, I feel like the others, again, I'm just going to repeat it one more time. I feel like the other places aren't even doing opportunities. So it's like not even an option, it doesn't seem like. Or either way, just like fuck that option. I'm not going to watch your shitty show. So I don't really know. Come at me, Jimmy Fallon. Yeah, so basically what I've been doing is just walking. I've basically just been getting stoned and walking for like long stretches. So I may have mentioned earlier at some point that like I've been walking to like a park. So it's been like a 5-mile round trip thing. So I do that a lot. I'll try to get in at least 2 miles a day. And I just like to walk, like look around and, observe the crazy. Sometimes I'll walk right into traffic, not really paying attention. But, it all works out. It all works out pretty well in the end. And the only reason why I don't go long distance every day is because like my feet will just be in like searing pain just from being in too much use. And I also like can't spread all my toes. So like, how you can just like spread your toes all wide. On my left foot, for whatever reason, my pinky toe is immovable. And I can't use it. Like I can move it, I think, but not really. And when I try to spread them, it just like collapses inward, and it looks weird. And I feel like if I didn't have a pinky toe on my left foot, I feel like I would be a little more. I feel like I'd be more efficient. Frankly, I think that it is like in the way. It's like invading my abilities. Um, like, do we need them? Is all I'm saying. I feel like nobody on Earth, unless it somehow pertains to your field, needs a pinky toe to walk. You know, other than special cases. But so yeah, I got these weird fucking feet, so they get all torn up. So anyway, sometimes I'll walk the shorter distances, but basically none of that is the point. So there's my foot story. And now you know why I don't sell feet pics. You know, the OnlyFans can't go up till I get these babies buffed out. Maybe if I lose the toes too, then I got a whole nother lane. Because I'm sure 4-toe is primo prices. You know what I mean? Like if I can get you like on a, I don't know what the rates would even look like, but give me $20. That sounds good. That sounds outrageous that anybody would ever do that. Pay for it, I mean. Power to the ladies. Like, if you're a woman and you're not selling feet pics, you're fucking up because that's free money. You know what I mean? It's like, who really cares what happens to the pics and who looks at them and what they do when they look at them? Because I didn't even expect this, by the way, which is ironic considering what the point of this story was, but it's just like, it's just picture your feet. So like even if that leaked, like you know how that's like the old timey fear was like, what if people know? Even though it's common to just promote that shit openly now, which is cool. Uh, even if it did leak and you wanted it a secret, not that big of a deal. You know, maybe somebody's like, oh, that's weird. She took a lot of pictures of her feet, but it's weirder that somebody's into it. You know, not that she did it. That's fulfilling. That's supply. There's too much demand is the problem. I'm way off the rails here. But do it. I. It sounds like I just want more options. I don't. I'm not into it. It's not a bad look. It's a bad look. Jeez. Well, that didn't go well. So we're gonna move on. The point I was trying to make was, um, in my dazed state, wandering around aimlessly, um, like little bits will come into my head. Um, take the first RFAT bite, for example. The new little shameless plug right here in the middle of the story. The new little feature we're doing where we're cutting clips. And by we, I mean me, which is why there's still only been one so far. Eventually, there's going to be a lot of those coming. So I'm going to try to go into the archives of the old episodes too at some point, but you know, there'll be at least one for this one, right? There's going to be at least one for each episode right away, and then the rest of them won't come. You know, I'll get there. But like the whole lady with the bus thing, the whole bite story in the first place, that came from floating through time and space, and just kind of vibing out there. Long-winded way of just saying that I'm actually writing down things that happen and bits that would normally go to waste because you always tell yourself you're gonna remember, and then you even try to give yourself like a little game. You know, you try to play a little memory quiz with yourself. You're just like banana, backpack foodie. Banana, backpack foodie. Banana, backpack foodie. Drop it down, give me some booty. You know what I mean? And then you're like, I got this. Then you go to sit down, record this episode. Nothing happens. It's all gone. It's all gone. You try to remember it the next day. You're like, oh shit, what was that thing I'm supposed to remember? I don't remember. So I guess the point is, you know, you should feel good about things going forward because I'll have more plans. I'll have stuff written down. And it's been good to remember stuff. I encourage all of y'all to write some things down. You won't forget. You have to write down that you need to write stuff down. So you remember to write stuff down, and then you can start writing it down. That must be the trick. um, I had this other thing. Where I was watching the Game Show Network. The public one, the antenna version. This is a cable free zone. We don't believe in unnecessary spending. This is a good libertarian household. I don't know. I don't know if that's accurate to those beliefs and all that structure. But the free one, the buzzer, where those commercials and those advertisements are absolutely insane. They're just like, some of them are like the entire break long. They're like 4 minutes because I think you could pay whatever you want. I think I've said on the show, I want to just like make a series that's and just like buy the same ad every week and just like make it a 3-minute show that's on weekly on this channel. Just like pay to advertise that. I think that would be awesome. But anyway, so you just get to see the craziest shit, and they're like very poorly made and very cheaply done. So that's the reason why I think that would be doable, and I think that would be fun. If you think that's a good idea, hit me up. rfatpodcast@gmail.com. Ha! Shameless plugs throughout the episode. Hashtag. But it's all geared towards old people and stealing their money, and it's very sad to watch because it's very blatant, but they've got to be effective. Like, you just know it. And I've just noticed that, like, old people, they just, like, don't do dramatic pauses. Much like that one right there. They kind of just, like, pre-say the word and, like, fill the gap. Right? So if you were to say, like, your diagnosis is negative. Dramatic, right? Y'all were on the edge of your seat, bicycle, toes, whatever you may be situated on. But I feel like, see, I'm doing it again. You like that? That's how it should be done. But old people just like the dramatic pause, they ruin it. They just start filling the gap by like pre-saying the next word. So it would be like, the diagnosis is negative. And it's like you already knew what she was going to say because she was like, you know what I mean? It's like they have to gear up so much just to get the words out that if you pause, you got to get that engine started again. So you got to like rev it up. You know what I mean? I'm saying she's because I was just that woman. Like I just channeled into that experience. So try to tell me that I'm not an actor. Okay? Because I can act the fucking walls off the ball. But yeah, I love that. You know what I mean? They just can't. There's no secrets. The thoughts are just one at a time, and they're all coming. You know what I mean? There's no surprises. Another thing that I noticed that's I don't know how to do premises yet. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how to do setups, I guess, is what I meant. Because they're all just, I noticed. Which I did. I did notice. I'm a noticer. I wish you could put that on your resume. Yeah, I noticed. I didn't say anything. But I saw it. But yeah, so I noticed like my stomach was hurting recently, probably just because of a lot of important decisions, nothing other than that. And I was like, "Oh man, this is pretty rough." You know what I mean? Like it was more than the gurgles, it was like the pains and the cramps, and it was like, but like nothing was happening. You know what I mean? It was like a stomach ache like a little boy, and I was like, "Man, might have to go down to the store and get some Sprite." And I was like, "Wait a second. Like I wonder how crazy that sounds." Because then I really thought about it, right? And I was like, "Oh my god, my stomach hurts. Let me go get like a soda that's like all corn syrup." You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing in it that's like beneficial. It's like, let me get some corn syrup and artificial flavoring. That'll make my stomach feel better. And I was like, is that just like a Midwestern thing? Because I feel like throughout my whole life, like everybody's been like, oh, you should go get some 7-Up. You know what I mean? Like, you have a stomach ache. It's like, why do we still act like that's medicine? You know what I mean? Didn't we? Don't we acknowledge the original Coca-Cola guys as snake oil salesmen? And that Coca-Cola actually had drugs in it, so they like weren't even lying. Whereas like now it's like, I don't know. Like a natural ginger ale makes sense. It's got ginger in it. It's good for your stomach, right? Or just like a lemon lime La Croix. They're gross. They're very gross. If they even make a lemon lime combo, you get the lemon, you get the lime, you mix them together. Boo hoo. Okay, but either way, like you don't have the sugary badness. It's like, oh, my stomach hurts. Let me eat more sugar. Sugar and fucking everything. I don't need any more sugar. Anyway, I wonder, is that like foreign? Is it very bizarre that I'm like, oh man, I'm sick. Better get some sugar mucus. Drink that right up. Feel better. It does make you feel better. I mean, I'm not going to try to front and act like it doesn't, but it is crazy. It is crazy because it's just the bubbles. There's nothing about the soda. I'll segue my Midwestern bewilderment into my more targeted Chicago material. So here's a bit I wrote um about abolishing the fire department in Chicago. Man, we had a fire once. It took out the whole city. There hasn't been a fire since. What the fuck am I paying taxes for? You know what I mean? It doesn't make any goddamn sense throwing all this goddamn money. They're never going to let a fire happen again. They rebuilt the whole city in the correct image. The only time there's ever going to be a fire again, they're tearing the whole goddamn thing down and they're not going to be able to put it out. So we don't need them. And ladies and gentlemen, that's why I don't do open mics. Because that wasn't good. You know? Got to workshop it. I get it. Maybe that's true. Anyway, thanks for listening to my Chicago Fire material. Nobody's joked about it since 1926. So I had to be sure to bring him right back into the rotation. Long overdue. Long overdue. Yeah, I recently slid into this Amish girl's DMs, which was hard. It took a lot of patience, considering they only get online every 3 months. So I eventually got a response, and I was like, all right, let's get this going. So, I mean, it took about 9 to 14 months before we even set up the first date. So we're about 2 years into talking now, and we met up 3 times at the train station because they're allowed to do that every once in a while. And she's pretty devout with it still. So we're not doing anything. Keeping it cash. Keeping it cash. Spell that. Bet you can't. That's what I thought. But I'm a secular guy. Okay? I've been known to dabble in the darkness, if you will. So I tried to up the pace a little bit. And we didn't want to leave the trail, right? So we started doing a little bit of the letter writing and got a little Fabio style, if you know what I'm saying. So basically what's going on is it's 1847, okay? And I'm across the country looking for work. Because that's just what you did. You just rode the rails till you saw the ocean, and then you tried to fucking throw rocks for 20 cents a year. And you would just write letters with your lady. And, you're going to get lonely. So sometimes it gets a little sultry, you know. But, you forget where you're at because, right, you're so used to texting, you can, like, get a whole sext going in, like, 35 minutes. You just bang one out real quick. But we're doing it snail mail style. You know what I mean? I got to get stamps. It's a whole process, which is cool. I'm, like, invested in it. But, sometimes 2-3 weeks go by and you're like, oh, well, I'm going to have to get a boner at breakfast, I guess. Just just catching up with the mail. Jesus. Things escalated pretty quickly here. Yeah, Pony Express style. Just getting real. Great butter. What can I say? They really know how to churn out there, out in those fields. Just kidding. But not really. But maybe not. But maybe I am. Who knows? You gotta keep it mysterious. That's what they say. But yeah, things are crazy. You know what I mean? There's just no other way to put it. And it is just overwhelming. I found myself just like chucking my phone, shutting off the TV. You know what I mean? It's just like you see a thing and you're like, oh my God, another thing. Just pile it on, just pile it on, just pile it on. It's like, just give me a fucking break. I'm still waiting on my first break. You know what I mean? Things just keep escalating and it's brutal. It's just like people keep continuing the argument of like, we should just open. And it's just like, don't you guys get that the other places did it because they fixed it? You know what I mean? Like, we can't just keep saying, well, now it's too late. Fuck it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's never going to be too late. You know what I mean? It's going to be too late when it's just like over because everything's decimated. Sure, we can get to that point. But it's like, fuck, somebody just be responsible. Please. It's crazy. It's like when you're a kid and your parents are fighting and you have to yell at them to stop because they sound like fucking idiots and children. It's like, can you guys just grow the fuck up? Get this dog and pony show on the road. Which, by the way, where are all these dog and pony shows? Because that sounds awesome. You know what I mean? There's not enough dogs in entertainment in general. Now, don't let that be misconstrued for we need more dog movies. Absolutely not. But the roles should be there. That's all I'm saying. And if there's ever going to be a show, bring a dog, bring a pony. Let me see what they got. Sounds exciting. Oh, I just recalled what the other pivot point was. I don't know why I called it a pivot point. It's not that. But the other Fortnite gap. It sounds like you're talking about the game. It's like the fact that the game Fortnite is as big as it is just ruins using the word Fortnite for its meaning. It's like, bro, 2 weeks went by. What the fuck am I supposed to say? You know what I mean? It like ruins the point of inventing words for multiple words. It's like now I have to say 2 weeks every time. I can't say fucking Fortnite because Johnny 7-year-old isn't going to know what that means. It's not fair. But I mean, very few things are nowadays. I feel like I genuinely just cannot make a decision on what to watch at any given time at any time. So basically, all I do is hope for new long form things to come out. Just like new discussions, new podcast episodes, new interviews, new whatever that I can just put on that'll, I can have 3 things on that'll last all day. And then that's good because I just can't pick anything. I don't want to watch episodes. If it's a show I've already seen, I find a little nitpick about one part of it and I just can't put on that episode, or then I'll find an episode I like and then I'll like dislike the next one. You know what I mean? And then if I eventually just cave and just watch it, it's none of the things I think will be problems or problems. You know what I mean? It's just like for whatever reason everything just seems so sour. Um and I mean I think it fully comes from the fact that I know that sports are happening and I don't have a means to watch them. So it's like watching anything else just seems like so annoying to me. It's like why would I start a new show? Like there's a fucking game on right now and I just can't. Try to do the stream thing. There's not a lot of reliable ones when the games don't matter, I think is the problem. You know, because like if you try to stream like a UFC fight night, a thing that's like on TV anyway, it's shitty. You want to stream the pay per view? Crystal clear. Weirdly, like if you can find one, you know, that's always the hardest part. Is just finding it. But it's just like, yeah, I've just like completely diverged from wanting to watch anything. There's no new shows that really strike me, and all the ones that I get recommended are on Netflix, and I don't have it, and I'm not gonna get it. Okay, so it's just like this endless cycle of me being like, fuck that. No, 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 no. And then movies I can't commit to because I can't convince myself that I'm going to pay attention. And it's like, if it's good, I'll pay attention, ideally. But sometimes I'll still fuck up, I guess. But, you know, that new Seth Rogen movie was horrible, by the way, if we want to talk about getting distracted. An American Pickle. It came out like a couple days after I recorded the last one. I mean, it's rough. So it was written by Simon Rich, which I would take as a good sign because I thought the show Man Seeking Woman was excellent. I like Jay Baruchel. It was set in Chicago, another up, and Eric Andre was in it. A lot of big ups. But it was cool because like it took all the like sappy generic things you would hear in like a romance scenario, like talking about a girlfriend, like there's other fish in the sea, like things like that, and then like a fish would date him. You know, like things like that. Like they would all go like literally, like, oh, she shot me with an arrow, and then that would happen, or like whatever. They were clever and better than that. And he was also writing that show when he was like 25 or something crazy, like something really like you wish you could do, or I wish I could do. Anyway, so it's like, okay, that's a good sign. And it's like Rogan's the man. He hasn't been doing what I wish he was doing, but he's doing his thing and he's having a good time and he's making cash. So shout out to you. You know, big fan. Gonna respect all the decisions until they're unforgivable. We're still good. So you know, all good signs. I mean, the trailer didn't look very good. But, you know, that could be misleading. Maybe they threw it together. Although, most of what I thought seemed right. It didn't seem like they had much of a story, right? It seemed like the premise was the story, which is a big mistake. I mean, I think for a lot of obvious reasons, because it just kind of goes off the rails and doesn't go on any kind of. Not that you want a movie to be predictable, but if a movie's unpredictable, that shouldn't be because it doesn't make any fucking sense, or it's just so outlandish that it's like, okay, fuck this. You know what I mean? It's like in a movie where the premise is like the guy survives in a brine, and then it ends up just being like some weird Trump thing. It's like I don't. Okay, here's the thing. Spoiler alert. Sorry, I don't mind the fact that they wanted to like put the statements in there about like cancel culture and shit. I do kind of I mean, it does like say that both things are accurate, kind of like what I was saying earlier. Like some of it makes a lot of sense, some of it's ridiculous. You know, sometimes you don't want to apologize. You know what I mean? All that shit I was saying, all that shit I be talking. Um, it's like that stuff makes sense. I just don't know if it makes sense in this movie in that scenario, and I just feel like here's the thing, like Seth Rogen did two good individual performances, but he has no chemistry with himself, and the whole movie is rooted in like them needing to be family, and it just focuses so little on that. And like they like become like rivals because he's like an old timey guy. I don't know. It just seemed like it was pretty thrown together. You know what I mean? Like they ran with the idea and then that was it and didn't look back. You know what I mean? It just seemed like the old man character, the guy who got brined, he didn't really have anything going on, which like seems intentional because like people in the past just worked hard and that was it, and they didn't have any feelings. And it's like maybe that's just your perspective because they were your grandpa. Well, I mean, it's probably still true. Dudes were doing crazy shit back in the day. Absolutely. But that's not an interesting movie to just watch a guy be angry at a young person. You know, just didn't work for me. A lot of good attempts. Like it was cool. I always like when a character in something starts a business, but then see my problem is whenever that happens, I just want that business to be successful and then I want the show to be about the business. And I forget that like shows don't do that. And it's annoying cuz like shows should progress. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that's what made like Breaking Bad and all the golden age stuff really blow up is that people realized like oh, shows are good if you just tell the whole story. Which was always true. Don't get me wrong, but it was like finally that clicked. Whereas typically in a show like in Shameless when he started like a brewery, it's like that would be sick if he made like a crazy high alcohol beer with like homeless employees and became like a huge guy. You know what I mean? Like a rich, successful person and like, became like a buzzy, trendy, whatever, craft beer guy. That would be a more interesting arc for that character, whether they're still following the UK show or not or whatever. I don't really care because what actually happened was way more stupid. It was like the sitcom solution to what would happen. Whereas, like, if you're trying to do a show that's supposed to be rooted in like reality, like about a real thing, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's just like, oh, it blew up. It's like, yeah, it just blew up. And then we just moved on next week. Forget about it. It's like you could at least resolve the things better. I don't know. That's why I really like the show Horace and Pete. Louis C.K.'s little gem. I think I talked about it on the Louis C.K. episode that I did, but that was a great show. And like shows set at things are awesome. My new show idea takes place at a place of business. I cannot talk about it. Too good to be said on here, and that's real. That is not one of my little inside bits that I like to run on here all the time. I got a real gem in the tank, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, so if anybody has any idea where to send these bad boys, you let me know, because I got some shit cooking. It's gonna make your head spin. It won't. It won't blow your mind, but it'll be cool. Basically, as a way of coping right now, I just keep trying to spend my time by thinking of ideas and running with the idea that they could be possible because everything in the near future is uncertain. So I figure let's create a false sense of optimism by thinking that I can complete all of my dream creative endeavors by the end of the year. Probably a million roadblocks in the way of all of that happening. I just don't think I could handle that reality. So I'm just like, yeah. When things turn around, I'm gonna be able to get started finally once I get over these humps. 'Cause you gotta, you know what I mean. You always keep grinding. Um. Anyway, that wasn't supposed to be like a downtrodden thing. Kind of came off that way. I realize. Um. But I mean, it's fun. It's fun to just have little adventures. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, and then I'll get $200,000, and I'll buy these 9 things in these increments of money, and then I'll flip it into this thing, and then I'll open up a sandwich truck, or I want to have a little hand cart thing, Adam Schmackums. That's been talked about on here before. I know that. But you know what I mean? Just get a bunch of little tiny things going. I just love anything that can allow me to repurpose a thing. That's gonna be a big part of it. So just be ready for that. Um. So I'm gonna do my last final take here. Since as I'm recording, The NBA playoffs are starting today, but they have not started yet. Okay? So, and either way, I mean, it's fucking game one everywhere, so it doesn't really matter. But I'm going to make my bold NBA predictions. Okay? So now this is just for the sake of doing it, just so, like, if I can make this call, that would be huge. Right? So, I mean, like, real pick. I actually don't know. It's actually pretty tough. I kind of. I'm taking Houston. Controversial? It may be. But I love James Harden. I've loved him since he was the sixth man on the Thunder. That was my favorite team because they were all young dudes, all drafted in a row. Watched them all start and watched the whole team get good. It was just cool to watch something from the ground up. And Harden was my favorite guy of all three guys. And then Westbrook and then Durant because Durant's just kind of unfair. Let's just be honest. I mean, love watching all of them, but I mean, it's a goddamn shame what happened there. Scott Brooks is a horrible coach. That offense was disgusting and clunky, and it's a crime that happened. There should be documentaries about that team and how disappointing that was because, like, Jesus Christ. And nobody was really saying it at the time. Nobody's like, this team's ready because they weren't ready because they needed a new coach the whole time, and they just wouldn't do it. And then those trades. Anyway, disappointing. But like I said, haven't really been getting to watch. I've seen highlights and stuff, so this is like an even more out there system that I'm working with here because I'm have not been able to tune in. So my bold choice is going to be Houston over. I can't pick against Milwaukee. I wanted to say Boston, but I just don't think that they'll make it very far. I don't have the faith. I guess the whole point of this is the bold pick. So I guess my real pick is going to have to be. My real pick is Houston over Milwaukee. And then my bold pick is OKC over Boston. Because the cosmic inverse of that, OKC gets rid of, finally, the third of all three of those guys, wins a title with Chris Paul over the Boston Celtics, who I also would like to win because they have a lot of good young players. Basically, I like any team that has a good core nucleus and, like, isn't there yet, but is almost there because you just want them to turn the corner so bad, but they might not do it. Like Houston at this point, I don't know. They've already shaken things up like 4 times. It's like you're gonna have to make a move. So yeah, okay. That was sloppy and that was clunky, and I didn't really plan it out, but I figured it out in the end. So to recap, what just happened right there, my NBA prediction is gonna be Houston Rockets over the Milwaukee Bucks in the NBA Finals. God, that sounds terrible. That's not gonna happen. They wouldn't even beat them if they played each other either way. It would be funny if Philly won without Ben Simmons. It's like that's what it took. Anyway, and then my bold choice is OKC over Boston. But I think Milwaukee's pretty much a lock. I don't really see anybody even having a chance, like unless Jimmy Buckets comes through, but fuck him. We should have kept him. God damn it. The Bulls suck so bad. We'll see. Maybe the new guy will turn it around. But I also had a lot of faith in Ryan Pace, and he's the biggest piece of shit you could have ever asked for. So all the good things he did totally outweighed by all the bad. I keep going on these Ryan Pace rants. Jesus. So yeah, we'll see. If that goes right, give me $1 million. Because I'm the NBA predictor going forward. No, I don't know if that'll happen. That'll be cool, though. Stanley Cup, I'm not going to even make a prediction. Didn't see a game all year. The Blackhawks already fucked up. They somehow made it in, and they fucked it up already. So, I don't know anything else. With that, and I am, lastly, just very excited to have Hard Knocks back because it almost seems like NFL training camp like isn't even happening because there's no reporting on it because obviously there's so many other things to report on. Um, and it's I don't know. I'm also just not watching ESPN on a loop like I usually do in the summer or used to do in the summer. I haven't done it in like 4 years now, but I feel like still there's less talk than ever just because of everything that's going on. So it almost feels like they didn't even start because of all the COVID, but like it's going on. So that makes me relax. The fact they're still doing Hard Knocks and that's coming out, I just I could not handle time without football. Okay, baseball, don't give a fuck. Hopefully the Cubs win the fucking World Series though. They look fucking great. I hope you heard that. That was me knocking on wood. Don't jinx it. Anyway, I'm gonna get the fuck out of here. Rate, review, subscribe to the podcast. Shout out to y'all. We're still growing, keeping the numbers up. Let's let that trajectory continue. So before I go, I just want to remind you that I are fat, you are fat, we are fat. Calculator.